What's the deal, my people? You know it is Don Tony Teflon, and I'm back at you another one. And this one is from Season 2, Episode 10, the finale, 10 weeks, shot by that fast. Did you get the answers you were looking for? Were you looking for more? Were you looking for less? Most people probably won't be looking for less. Was this a good season finale? I want to know all those things in the comment section. We're going to do this a little bit differently this week. There were 3 major storylines, so I'm going to give you my favorite storyline. I'm going to rank them 3 to 1, 1 being the best, and I'll break down each storyline for you. If you're into things like that, then do me a favor. Subscribe, click that bell so you can be notified every time I drop a new video. Tonight in the Escaping From podcast, I'll go through the whole thing with Phil the Issues Guy, and we'll have some special guests with us. So let's get right to it. My number 3 storyline of this episode was Jade in the tunnels. Now, though Jade is my favorite character, and I like everything that they did with him this season, I think compared to the other 2 storylines, this one I would have to say was the weakest. Not saying that it was bad, but just comparing it to the other 2 storylines. So let's get right into Jade's storyline. This episode shows us a different side of Jade, a side that he's not as greedy as he usually lets on, a side that he's trying to accomplish something not just for himself, but for everybody else. He sees the way Julie is, and he's been living with her, and the fact that she's been in that situation has made Jade want to figure out exactly what's going on so he can not just save himself, but he can also save this girl that he says during this show should be celebrating her prom. We get confirmation again that Julie is 16 years old, in case people didn't realize she was 16 years old. So Jade likens this whole situation to being a puzzle without all the pieces, or you could say without the box, so you don't know exactly what you're doing. And he says that it's not even the good pieces that you have the shitty pieces, the one in the middle. I don't even have a corner piece. So he goes back to the bar and he tries to do an experiment with glass that he uses to focus his mind to try to figure out what's going on. And it's at this time we then get the flashback of a character who passed away, and he's back. The former bar owner is in the building rocking with Jade. Now, this is in Jade's mind, and I think that he says a funny line in here. He's like, you know, you died. And he goes, yes. He goes, okay, at least we are on the same page. But what he does give him is a reflection of exactly what this whole situation, this whole episode is truly about. Now, while debating with a dead man whether he should go inside the cave or not, we hear him bring up the trolley problem, which is an old but interesting theory. The trolley problem is the hypothetical moral dilemma devised by the philosopher Pepper Foote. Essentially, the moral dilemma is around saving one person or saving a larger amount of people, but in order to do so, you must sacrifice one person. Now, most people would say 5 is bigger than 1, so if you can save 5 people over the one person, then that's what you do. But in this scenario that they use a train coming at 5 people, you have a lever, and if you pull this lever, it will divert the train to a different track, and that will kill the one person instantly. Now, in the other way around, you're not doing anything, but in this way, you're actually causing the death of a person. And I think that's what Jade struggles with here, and that's when he realizes, when he looks at this scenario, that he has to go inside of this cage for the greater good. Because even if he dies by pulling the lever and he dies, he will save the majority of the people inside of this town. And that's what he does, and that's why he heads into this cave. Now, me personally, I thought the cave would be a little bit more in depth than what we got, but they chose to focus on other storylines, mainly Boyd's storyline, over the cave storyline. And I think they will come back to the cave next season. They did the same exact thing with Tabitha and Victor, where you got a taste of the cave, and the tunnels, if you want to call them, and then after that is when we got it the next season. I think it follows along that trail. But while Jade is in there, he does get a vision while he's in there, and this vision is of the Akui children on the slabs. They start saying Akui, and when he does finally look up, he sees the symbol as a skylight, basically, in there. So is this what that symbol means? It's a skylight, that these children were being sacrificed on these slabs, and that's what they were seeing, these children, that skylight symbol. So they were sending this to Jade, and that's what he kept seeing, and that's the reason why he kept seeing it. It could be more than that, because we haven't seen Jade make it to the place where the actual symbol was painted on the wall that Tabitha and Victor seen. So I think that he will make it there, but not this season. He will make it there next season. The number 2 storyline in this show was 100% Boyd's storyline to me. A lot of people may say they thought this was the number 1 storyline, but to me, it was only the second storyline. It starts off with Boyd in there with Kenny, seeing Julie reacting the way she's reacting from the nightmare creatures taking possession of her body, and him trying to figure out exactly how he can save these people, and blaming himself for these creatures actually being there, that he is the one who brought them back. So he is the one who set out on the mission to do something good for the town, but in the end is responsible for almost bringing down the downfall of this town. Again, you can go back to the theory with Jade and see that this is the dilemma he's facing right now himself. We also see Donna go off with Elgin and her real life husband, and searching for who? Our boy Randall out there. So we did have questions of what happened to Randall, but he was found in the woods. So what does that mean? The creatures was out there, it was nighttime, and they didn't touch him or kill him. So that definitely means something. We'll talk more about those spoilers later on at the end of the episode. So Boyd then comes with the idea that we have to get Sarah involved. Kenny ain't about it as always, but Sarah is connected to this place, as Father Khatri said. So he brings her back to the site where he escaped from Martin. And while she's there, she goes into her seizures, and she hears the music box being there, but it's not physically there. They can't actually touch it. And then she goes into a whole spew about the voices there and how people there are just trying to keep these people trapped in this town, and that Boyd's, it's his fault, and they're basically laughing at him for doing what he did and helping them along. So this has to start bringing into some points as, was Martin good or was Martin evil? You know, did he actually help Boyd, or was this a plan all along? The most important thing I think Sarah says in this whole situation, because they do talk about the boy in white, is that she does not think the boy in white is actually a boy. And I think that that makes sense for the show also, because the character is obviously going to age out of this role. But if he's not a boy and he's something else, then you can actually bring in another actor to portray the boy in white. So when the character does get a little bit older, if this goes on for, say, 5 to 6 seasons, you don't have to have this same young kid playing that role who doesn't fit the mold anymore because he's outgrown the age. But then while they're doing this, we hear Kenny and Boyd talk about everything that's been going on. And Kenny is just a hater of Sarah, and anything that Sarah does, Kenny is just automatically going to be against, whether it's for the betterment of the people or not. See, Kenny is one of these people that would not pull the lever to save the one, to kill the one person. He would let the 5 people go. That's been his whole MO from the beginning. We've seen that before. Kenny's not willing to do that right now. So as Boyd and Kenny go through their dilemma and try to hash out exactly what's the next step that they have to take, how are they actually going to figure out this whole situation? But backing up real quick, if the boy in white is a man, what man is he? We then get transferred over to this asshole who I cannot stand, Kev and Ellis, and he's just over here still pouting about everything. And we see Ellis taking on the role, I would say, as Donna. Again, if you look at Fatima and Ellis, they could perform Donna's role together. You may say it takes two people to do one role, but that's most likely the way that they are going to handle it, which to me makes it think that Donna is expendable, that Donna could go out and be taken over. This spot could be taken over by both of them, so he may not be there. Well, this dude is obviously having some mental problems, freaking out over everything. Ellis is just trying to calm him down, but you could see he was suspect from the jump, that there was something wrong with this guy, and he was going to get into some type of trouble before this was all said and done. We then see Fatima come down and try to comfort Ellis, and this is when she tells him, listen, we might as well get married now. We don't know if we have 2 hours, 2 minutes, 2 days left. We all eventually gonna fall asleep. We can't stay awake forever. I want to be your wife while we're still alive and while we're still conscious. And Ellis agrees to do it. I actually thought this was going to be a red wedding situation. I thought that it wasn't going to be a good wedding situation, because usually weddings don't end well in television shows. Boyd is inside of his office, and while he is inside of his office, Sarah is there and she's talking to him. And she basically is giving Boyd a pep talk. We've seen her do this when they were in the woods, right? Boyd was ready to give up when he was in the woods. And it was Sarah who kept motivating him and kept him going. And we see Sarah play that exact same role again here for Boyd, motivating him and keeping him going when she really didn't have to. So while Boyd is doubting himself, while Boyd is out there not knowing what to do, what's the next step for him to take, because he just can't find the answers he's looking for, Donna just happens to show up in the church. Now, why is Donna Johnny on the spot all the time? I mean, it's really making me think that there's something going on with Donna, the way she just shows up. But while that's happening, we go back to Christy and her girlfriend and Kenny doing what a friend is supposed to do. If you're going to front, even if you say, listen, I love this chick, if you're in love with someone, you're supposed to be someone's friend at this particular time, right? Also, not just their lover, but their best friend. And we see Kenny actually portraying this role with Christy and doing the right thing and comforting her while her girlfriend is still inside of this comatose type state that she's in due to the nightmare creatures taking over their body. We then see Boyd getting another pep talk from Donna, but to me it seemed like Donna was trying to discourage him from going out there on the mission. Now, she did it by saying, listen, your son is going to get married. Maybe you need to just stop going over stuff, stop stressing over stuff, and come to your son's wedding. Let's try to have something good come out of this whole bad thing. Now, whether Donna is being sincere about that or not, it's kind of, up in the air. How she knew Boyd was there to tell him this, it's not like Boyd has a bicycle like Jade, or he has a car where it was parked outside and she's seen him. How did Donna know he was up inside of this church at the time? I'm really starting to think that it's a good possibility that Donna is the mole when this all is said and done, that that's going to be her role in this, that she will be found out that she's been working for these people, and Randall, as crazy as he seemed, was actually right in this whole situation about her. We do get the wedding and Donna acting like she's Fatima's mom, and the wedding goes off without a hitch. We have Boyd there. He eventually does show up there, and they have a dream catcher in the mirror, in the window of this whole wedding, right? Which is significant, right? A dream catcher is supposed to be able to take away all your nightmares. But something about the picture of Fatima to the left just looks creepy to me. It doesn't look like a beautiful picture of her. But as she's getting married, she asks Boyd if he would do the honors and portray the part of her father and walk her down the aisle. Boyd does so, and he tells her, you do not have to call me Officer Stevens anymore. I think he was going to say, you could call me Dad. But I did not hear him say, yes, you can just call me Dad and everything else. But most likely, maybe she does start calling him Dad. Do you think that's where it's going to go? Or is she just going to say Boyd? But she could say it. And the wedding goes off without a hitch. Everything looks great. It's a sunny day outside. I think the focus truly is on the dream catcher that's up there, because that is supposed to take away your nightmares, right? Catch your dreams. I think that's the point of it. And I think that's truly what the focus is on this whole wedding scene. Before this happened, Donna said for people to take the guns and put them somewhere just in case something happens at night. And we see this idiot again slice the throat of the person who was over here trying to box up all the guns, and he goes out there and steals a gun for himself. Now people are like, all right, why is this dude stealing a gun? What is going to happen? Well, we see exactly what happens. He confronts Boyd with the gun and actually shoots Boyd in the shoulder, blaming Boyd on everything that's happened, saying that stuff that happened to his girlfriend and everything else, it's all Boyd's fault. Boyd tries to communicate with him and say this is not what it is, and tell him that the reason why he's here is because he figured out that the torch was the key. He got that from the wedding for him getting back inside of that tower. And that's what happens. When we see him light the torch, he goes back inside the tower. And while we're inside of this tower, this is when we see all three people chained up on the wall. Now, I told you before that we would have three people chained up. I got one of the people on the wall chained up. That was right. I knew Marielle would be there, but I didn't think it'd be Julie, and I didn't think it would be Randall. But they were all chained up on the wall in this place. And after this is when Abby comes through, and Abby is a hologram, I believe, when she's there, trying to distract Boyd not to set these people free, to not destroy the music box. I think that Abby, again, is a hologram. I don't think she's physical, and it really makes me think of technology, that's what's going on here. But she tries to do exactly the problem that we talked about earlier with Jade. She tries to hit it again, saying basically, hey, why are you going to save these people? They're going to die one way or the other. And Boyd asks this interesting question, like, listen, this guy who's in control let you just come down here and talk to me? Why would he do that? Which the guy wouldn't, because Abby is not real. This is a hologram projection of it. And then Boyd says, you know what? I ain't buying it. I ain't down with you. Whatever you're trying to sell me, girl, I ain't about that life. I can't just do this. I'm not going to just allow these people to die in my presence. I'm going to do something like pull the lever. I'm not just going to allow it to happen when dealing with that situation. Again, we talked about with Jade. Boyd decides to pull the lever and see exactly roll the dice. And if he's going to die for it, then so be it. But he's going to try to save the more people and not just sit back and allow fate to happen, or what so-called fate would be, as Abby is actually trying to get him to do. So by doing this, he then breaks open that music box. He hits it with the fire. And the thing that we've seen, if you looked at the music box beforehand, you could see that it was already burnt. It already looked burnt, and it already looked smashed, like the ballerina was already missing parts in there. So it seems like this could have already happened before, in my opinion. That this wasn't the first time that this box has been broken. By doing this, everybody then wakes right up out of this trance they were in, and they are 100% okay. Boyd does save the day again at this time. After they all wake up, Boyd goes outside, and when he does, he sees the boy in white's dog. The dog then takes off, and we don't see Boyd follow it, but we know that's what's going on. The number one storyline, in my opinion, of this show that we've seen in this episode is Tabitha and the tower, we shall call it. So Tabitha goes to her husband and tells her, listen, I have something I have to do, and that is rescue these children out of the tower. He agrees to let her go, but she did ask him for permission. But while she goes out there with Victor, Victor explains, we hear a couple of interesting things. He takes her to the tree. Before he gets to the tree, he's like, these other trees aren't supposed to be here. They were never here before, these trees, right? That's what he says. And then he finds the faraway tree, which is the bottle tree. I do believe it's the exact same bottle tree that we seen Boyd and Sarah find themselves in. And he says that this is where he found his mother, where she passed away. He found her body right outside of the tree. So she didn't actually get into the tree, but she told him that if I get into the tree, this is how you get to the tower. He then gives Tabitha his lunch pail, his prized lunch pail, and said he's packed some snacks in there for her. She takes the lunch pail, and she's a little reluctant about going inside the tree, but she does remember that Julie told her about these magical trees and everything else. So she gets inside of this tree, and she's transported to outside of the tower. Now, while she's making her way up the tower, we see things that she's seen in her vision. We see the truck that's out there, the dump truck that's there, the ambulance. We don't see Ethan's finger puppets, but we do see some playing cards that are on the floor that are on there. She goes past that, and as she does, she works her way up this tower. Now, I didn't think she'd make it all the way to the top, like it was just going to be there, but it seems like there's nothing in this tower. I'm over here thinking there's going to be like all this shit in there, but there's nothing in it. She starts hearing the kids say Nakui once again, and she makes her way to the top of the tower. At this tower, we can see it's a torch that is lighting the way, and it had some type of like prisms on the outside, and seems a couple of them may be broken, and that's how this light is going through. To me, I don't know how this light can be magnified, a torch light through this situation. It just doesn't seem like it should be able to shoot that far. It did see a little suspect to me. Something else is going on. But while she's up there, we get our first appearance of the boy in white that we get all season long. And we could tell that the actor, he aged. I mean, it's only been a year, but he's aged in that year. He's gonna hit his growth spurt. Again, we talked about a little bit earlier that the boy in white not being actually a boy, and we could see them having the transition from this character if he's gonna be aging like this every year. He goes there and he says, I'm sorry, but I have to do this. Is the only way it's gonna work or whatever. And he pushes her. Now, when he does push her, he gets like an evil face on him when he pushes her right out of the tower window. Before she hits the ground, we hear some beeping. She opens her eyes and she is inside of a hospital, right? And she gets up. There's an orderly there. He sees her wake up. He goes, I'll be right back. She pulls off the stuff. Her face is all beat up. She pulls off the thing on her arm for a heart monitor, and she goes walking towards the window. While she's almost at the window, the doctor comes in and says, how are you feeling? Now, you would think the doctor would be like, whoa, what are you doing out of bed? Get your ass back in bed. But for some reason, the doctor didn't act like that. He said, how are you doing? How is everything? How are you feeling? She goes, where am I at? She tells her the hospital that she's in, and Tabitha starts to cry, and she's like, no. And she's like, that you were found 3 days ago by some joggers or people on the trail 3 days ago. Now, if she's been out for 3 days, a doctor would not let her get out of bed. That they would have threw her ass back in bed. They would not let you get up and just start walking around like that. That would never happen in the hospital. But she does go to the window and see that she is not in Fromville anymore. Now, is this place Fromville in the past? Now, that is basically how the episode ends. And let me give you some thoughts about this whole Tabitha situation. Now, it's either one or two things. She's been transferred out of there and she's back in this real world. That could be a thing. Or she is in another part of this place in a simulation, and this is just another step. And these people are actually the people that are behind this whole situation. and they're running a con with her that she's being inside of a hospital right now. It's one or two situations going on there with Tabitha. We'll have to wait till next season to really find out what's going on. So when I look at this series as a whole, I would give this, it would definitely get probably about an 8.5 for the whole series itself. It wasn't better than season 1. I can't say that it was, but I understand that people are going to be like, we didn't get enough things answered. We're not going to get a lot of these things answered, I would say, unless they get 4 seasons. And then they would start answering some of these questions. You're not going to know if this is aliens or like I know it to be, but they're not going to put that out there until end of season 3, season 4. You won't know anything like that about what's actually going on here. If there is a mole, you might get that next season or anything like that, something like that. But you're not going to get the answers to these big things. You'll get the answer to exactly what the symbol is, unless we already got it. That it's just the skylight that the children were looking up when they were being sacrificed. So now we have to ask, why are they being sacrificed? And why is that skylight pointing directly to the sky, right? What's going on there, right? So we got a lot to talk about, and I will break it down tonight, live, Escaping From Podcast, 10 p.m. Eastern. Be there, join us. And I'll have a bunch of other YouTubers joining me and Phil this evening, and we will go through it and hash out everything that we've seen. Do me a favor, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and make sure you subscribe. We will be doing From content the whole off season, and we have a convention that is being planned, and you want to stay updated on that convention. So if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, spread this across the realm, and of course, subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.